In the back here.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Jillian, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come today and to meet your group. You're wonderful and friendly, and it was exciting this morning as well. So all kinds of things wrapped up into one event. So what I'm going to do is tell you just a little bit of background about myself, why I decided to start ComFor Care, a little bit about ComFor Care, and then I just want to talk a little bit about something that we all are going to face probably at some time, and that is having loved ones who we're starting to think might need some kind of help in the home. And as I have gone only 9 months into this business, I did anticipate how complicated a business it was from a personal level, but I didn't anticipate it fully. And so I just want to share a little bit about that with you and tell you about one of my clients that I feel is the perfect case of someone that we have helped bring back to the quality of life that she's used to living. So that was a long introduction, so let me just start. So my name is Renee, and I, by training, am an RN. So I started back in my baby career days at St. Mike's Hospital in the trauma unit, and at Sunnybrook Hospital as well. And initially, I was quite interested in research and was doing head injury research at Sunnybrook. And at that time, my dad was living in his own home and was starting to show signs of not coping well. And so, being an only child, I became the caregiver. But it was tricky because I was young, I wanted my own life too, he was not doing well, how was all this going to come together? And in the meantime, because I found the stress of that so difficult, I started thinking maybe I'm going to go work somewhere that's not quite as stressful as trauma and brain injury, because it's sad. And then that was sad, and so I decided, no, I'm going to go work in the pharmaceutical industry. Everybody looks like they're well manicured, and they're having fun, and they're traveling everywhere, and that's what I'm going to do. So I did go, and I worked in research and development in pharmaceuticals for about 15 years. At that point, I decided that I needed to get back to something that made me, at the end of the day, feel like I have contributed something, or someone has contributed something to me that has changed the way I see things or the way I do things. And I started to look for a business, and as much as I kept thinking there must be easier businesses than home care, I kept coming back to it, and I took it on. And so I opened up ComFor Care in May of last year, and I have to say that it has been the most incredible journey of my life, and it is just much richer than I even anticipated it being. So I'm going to share a little bit with you today why that is. So ComFor Care, let me give you a little background about that. ComFor Care is actually the Toronto branch that I own is a franchise. ComFor Care is an American company that has about 200 locations all across the U.S. ComFor Care is well known in the U.S. Established in 1996, it's a well-established home care company in the U.S. In Canada, the first office was opened in Hamilton, and then Brampton and Toronto, which is my office, opened around the same time. And all these offices are individually owned. So although they're all run a little bit differently, we all come from a background of the same values and corporate business models, etc. When I was opening, I looked at opening on my own, or I looked at opening with ComFor Care. I loved the people in the business model from ComFor Care, and that's why I kept going back to them, although I was looking at a number of opportunities. But when I looked at opening on my own, it was just as expensive. It was a complicated business, and I'd never had a business before. So I was worried, who am I going to talk to when I have issues? I wanted that business model behind me, and there's a decision I absolutely don't regret in any way. So let me just say as well that although we mostly work with seniors, because that's the nature of the type of demographic that need our services, we also work with new moms. We have a program for new moms who have just had babies, and mom and dad want to be able to concentrate on the babies rather than run their errands, etc. And we also work with people who have disabilities or just anyone who needs care at home. As it turns out, the majority of our clientele are people who are seniors. And those folks are divided into two distinct groups. One is what I call the acute client. And this is a person that's very easy to define, generally. It's someone who's leaving the hospital. They need care for a couple of weeks to make that transition until they're back on their feet again. Or they're just acutely ill for a while. Maybe the family's worried about them being in the home alone for a while. But the definition of that group is there's an end to it. It's someone who needs care just for a short period of time. And then there's the ongoing clients. And I'm going to talk more about these clients because these are the more interesting, the harder to define, the more interesting. The onions of layers that go along with these clients. The layers of onions, sorry. And every family has their issues, especially when there's someone sick in the family. And I come to this thinking, well, I come from a wacky family for sure, but then now I know everybody comes from a wacky family. So that's good news. If you have a normal family, you're the odd one out, let me tell you. So there's a lot of issues that go around that. And included in those issues, and this is something that I also experienced with my dad, you know when you live with someone that's changing somehow, they're losing weight. That's a good concrete example. Let's say they're losing weight. You don't notice it because you see them every day. It's the person that sees them only once every 2 weeks that notices that. So coupled with that is the thought that people don't want to see that their loved ones are needing help. So your mind is going to tell you, I'm not really seeing this because I don't want it to be. So what I'm going to propose to you is that there's a few concrete steps that people can look for if they think that someone in their lives, their friend or their spouse or family member is needing help in the home. And the number one sign has to do with nutrition. Number one sign is weight loss. You'll find that the person is losing weight pretty quickly. You'll find that there's stale food in the fridge, and things aren't being thrown out when the produce needs to be thrown out. It looks like my fridge too. I think I mean. And also, you might notice that people don't have the desire to cook anymore. So they may be telling you that they're cooking, but you can see that really they're not. So that nutrition is number one. Number two.
That's right, no.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I need my own services. Grooming is the second one. So you'll see, particularly for men, they'll be all of a sudden unshaven. Or for women, and what you're looking for is the change. So for women, the woman who's used to having manicures, pedicures, keeping a certain style about her, all of a sudden you'll see that change. Or you'll notice odors, maybe from incontinence or any kind of body odor. That's a sign. Also, upkeep of the home. You'll start to see mail piling up. That's a huge sign. When people aren't dealing with their mail, you'll start to see that cleaning becomes something that nobody is doing. And that's pretty easy to see. Not taking care of the garden anymore. If there's any kind of yard work to be done, that will go. But I think the most disturbing is the withdrawal from social activities. And you'll start to see maybe that aunt who was always so interested in your family stories, what are you doing? All of a sudden you'll find them pulling back in conversations. They won't be asking questions anymore because they're afraid that you'll ask a question and it's going to show up that maybe their memory is not quite what it used to be, or that their hearing is not quite what it used to be. And all of us are going to be the same when we get older, by the way. We're all going to find a way to protect what it is that we find is not what it used to be. So when we find our hearing's not good, Nobody's going to know about it. We're going to find a way to get around it. So this is what makes it so interesting, because we're always in a situation where the family members are looking and saying, we think this person needs help. And most of the people that might need the help are saying, no, I don't need the help. So it's often going in very slowly. And just also let me give you one other way to look at it. And I think that this is also important to think about. The first thing when you see that the family, a loved one, etc., you identify that they need help. There's 3 areas you need to think about. One is safety. So how are they doing at home? Is there any modifications that could be done in the home? Do they need to be perhaps moved to a long-term care? None of these things are happening overnight. These are just things that are on the plate. The second thing is medical. Are the drugs okay? Are they taking their drugs? Is there any devices that you need in the home? I go out to homes when we're opening up cases, and one of the things I do is reconcile any medications that are home to make sure that people are taking their medications appropriately, that they have. And this is the one area that just, I can't believe it. It's not the norm for people to be taking their medications properly. And I have found the pet medications in there with what old cat medications in with the medications that the person is taking. So this is an important piece to sort out. So I won't go on about that because I could go on about that for a long time. So that's safety, the medication. Yeah.
What did happen to us? It turned out my mum was giving my dad medications, but sometimes she'd forget or other times give double.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happened, and she would not believe that was happening.
No. A really simple way for that to help that is with the pill boxes. Those are ridiculously simple, but they are helpful. And I know
the blister package.
Well, the blister package at the pharmacy can make up for you is really great, but also the little boxes that have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I am such a bad pill taker that if I ever have antibiotics or something to take, I use one of those pill bottles because I can't figure it out. What happens when I'm older? Like, I just forget, and then I think, did I remember to take that? I don't know. Do I take 2? I don't know. Maybe I'll just skip it.
Especially right after you've taken it. You can't
right.
remember if you took it or not. That happened to me the other day.
Yeah, I mean, and that's okay with medications sometimes, like an antibiotic, but it's not great, but it's not going to kill you. But when that's an antihypertensive medication, that's really problematic when you're doubling up. But that's how my dad got himself to the hospital every single time. He'd double up his antihypertensives, boom, pass out, boom, in the hospital.
But I don't know if that was the one, but that's when Daddy ended up in the hospital and had to go to the nursing home. Straight from the hospital, never returned home.
Well, that was his blood sugar is 40.
Yeah.
It was,
at the time, Mummy was given overdosing, or not dosing, and in the nursing home, because they both ended up there, because they had lived together, right?
Right.
And so they decided to take the medications away from her.
Right.
For her own herself.
Right.
And a big fight.
Yeah.
Until they proved, which was very easy to prove, that she was actually forgetting and doubling up.
Right.
And that's how I found out.
Yeah. I mean, forgetting or having someone administer medications, I don't mean to say that that's a little thing, but look at that one thing and all the sequelae that happens from that.
Yeah.
You know?
It was like giving up. She was giving up control of herself.
Yeah.
And she said it wouldn't live.
Right.
And she died.
Yeah.
And she died too, and she said she'll be dead before 3 years was up, and she died before 3 years.
It's sad. Yeah.
So that's why I'm so interested in hearing from you. And you're hitting a few points here.
Yeah. It's one of the things that we do when we open up a case, sometimes if it's a quick, acute case, like someone...
Do you mind if we start doing Renee?
No! Let me just see, was there anything else I just want to tell you? No.
And this moment we're going to be on, right? And it's the crime of the century. Oh, okay. So this is a book for you.
Oh.
And it's written by Canadians, and it shows the Canadian content that's in here.
Okay.
And the crime of the century is identity theft. and it seems that it's one of the things that I do as well. You know, but anyway, that book is for you.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're very
And thank you
welcome.
for inviting me to come and speak.
I'm so glad you came.
I don't know.
And with your experience,
It's
partner
okay,
business has also worked well
just
for the
how
patients
about the
around you.
sample?
So thank you everybody for coming this morning and participating. And remember, the next breakfast is March the 22nd. And it's not going to be here.
Okay.
I don't know where it is. So you'll see from the website, remember, it's becometheboss.net. And thank you, Philip, for filming this morning.
You're welcome.
And thank you to Renee for agreeing to be on our YouTube and Become the Boss.